Hello, I'm Janine Batters and you're listening to the BCG podcast. Today we are talking with Vin Delahunty for our Meet the Team series. So hopefully after today you're going to know a lot more about Vin. So Vin is the Senior Manager of Corporate and Business Services. Vin, we're going to jump straight in. Tell me, what does that mean? What is your role at BCG?
So Janine, my role is essentially the back office functions of the business, so the finance, the HR, the governance side of things and the work health and safety. What I try to do is to make sure that as the clever young scientists are wandering around the region doing their science-based work and our great communicators and extension team are busy telling the people of the region about the work that the scientists are doing, that I'm there making sure the business is in a position to sustain that activity.
He's very clever to mention the extension and communications team there, Vin. Thanks for that. We are so lucky to have Vin. He just does an enormous amount of work behind the scenes and he really does know his stuff. So tell me, Vin, how did you get into ag?
I grew up on a farm in the Wimmera at Matoa, so had that fortunate start. But I was always the kid that wanted to be involved with whatever was going on. It was a grain and sheep property that I grew up on, and I really enjoyed the livestock side of things, the sheep handling side of things. So from an early start, ag was an area that was of great interest to me.
And why did you like the sheep work?
It was a merino flock, Riverina blood merinos. I liked working with sheep because I liked their personalities. Lots of people think that sheep don't have personalities. I definitely felt that they did, and I enjoyed most of the time working with them.
It is true because some sheep will jump straight over the fence and then others will never think about jumping over the fence. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, like people.
And Vin, tell me, was it outdoors, being outdoors? Because I don't do a lot of sheep work, but when I was a kid, I used to love doing sheep work simply, I think, for being, you'd be outdoors and you'd be walking behind them and in the yards. Do you like being outdoors as well?
When the weather's nice. No, absolutely enjoyed all of that. It can't be the indoors-outdoors thing because I've pretty much spent my life working indoors.
Yeah, but what about golf? You love playing golf and walking.
I love playing golf and I enjoy the social side of it, and I enjoy the opportunity to spend 3 or 4 hours or longer with others while we're all pursuing a common goal of having as few strokes on a hole as we possibly can.
So sport and being around people, are they your passions? What are some of your other passions?
So sport's always been important to me, and I've always tried to be involved, either personally or when the kids were growing up, I was one of the dads that was heavily involved in whatever team activity the kids were involved with. So, yes, sport's been important.
And you're an avid football player, or you were?
For a period. So, back to agriculture. Agriculture provided me the opportunity to live in a number of different communities. So I lived in Swan Hill for a period and lived in Mortlake for a period and lived in Horsham, and I played football while I was doing those things and was able to get involved with those communities as a result of that sport. And
you loved that side of it, I suppose, being with community and the sport and in agriculture, is all three things all at once.
Yeah, that's it. Any opportunity to meet new people and have new experiences was always pursued.
So tell me, Vin, what lights you up?
So my grandson Charlie lights me up. I love watching the excitement and the adventures of learning new things and the enjoyment that he gets when he manages to master some new skill. So it's a very exciting time.
How old is he?
A bit over 12 months.
And what do you like to do with him?
It's a boy thing. So we're into climbing and wrestling and just seeing what new adventures he can be willing to explore.
Beautiful. And his second name is?
Vincent.
Yeah.
Charlie Vincent. So
perfect. And how about travel then? You've just been on a trip. Is travel one of your passions as well? Tell me about your latest trip.
I've been fortunate to enjoy a lot of domestic and international travel, both work-related and personal-related. My wife and I have just been, in the middle of the year, we got to visit our son in London. So he's been there 3.5 years. So it was the first opportunity we'd had to meet his partner in real time, not FaceTime, but to also look and see where he's living his life and visiting some of the places that he visits in his day-to-day life.
It would help, I'm sure, when you're talking to them on FaceTime to know you can sort of picture where they're going and where they're walking. And
absolutely, and to agree or disagree with his choice of coffee, good coffee places as well. So
that sounds fantastic. Vin, now tell me, what's something people don't know about you?
When I was a young fella, I was a little fella. I was always small for my age.
And Vin's quite tall now, so that's.
So that's right. So I'm 6'2" and a bit a heavy build, as they might say. So, but when I was a young fellow, I was very much on the small scale, and so that required me to develop other skills to operate in that environment.
What do you mean by that? What sort of skills?
So people skills, learning to work with people, encouraging people to work with me, communication skills, teamwork, all those sorts of things.
Yeah, that makes sense. So do you think you've been able to make that work for you in ag?
Yeah, absolutely. So I learned young to, as they say, read the room. So I learnt to try to understand how others were thinking and feeling and what was motivating them in particular ways. And that's certainly been very beneficial in my professional career.
Yeah, beneficial for probably everybody. So it's amazing that you were able to do that from such a young age.
And not everyone can be the smallest in the group though. So.
Yeah, that's true. Vin, tell me then, what's the best advice you've been given?
Stop and smell the roses.
Who gave you that?
I don't know that it was anyone in particular. That bit hasn't been retained to memory, but it's important to stop and take stock of where you are and what you're doing. It's easy to become consumed by a task or, a series of events, and it's important to take stock and measure where you are with these things. And my kids will tell you it's a mantra that I believe in because it's the one thing that I would repeat to them regularly. And
so, because it's so true that it's every industry in particular, I think in the past year, everything's been getting so, everything's heightened and everything's a bit more full or a bit busier. How do you stop yourself? How do you stop yourself and remind yourself? Is there techniques or things that make you remember to do it? Because I think sometimes we can get so consumed, as you're saying, with what you're doing. How do you remind yourself to stop? Do you plant roses?
So we're more native species gardeners these days. So definitely grew up smelling the roses, and there's no greater pleasure than the perfume from a nice rose. I'm not sure how I do that, but I do, and I've done it for a long time. So even, for a period of my professional life, I worked in the heart of the Victorian dairy industry during a very tumultuous time. I had 7 years, that particular role, and there was lots of significant industry challenges through that period. And even when things were or appeared to be overwhelming, I could always stop and just step away, even briefly, from what was being done at the time, just to recalibrate and to make sure that whatever the objective was being retained as the objective, and we weren't being distracted by the white noise that was going on all around us.
It's a very important message. So, smelling the roses, what do you do for fun?
I like to socialise. If there's a sporting event, a meal or a general gathering, then that's even better.
What's your favourite form of socialising? Golf?
Mostly it involves beer.
Okay.
Any form of socialising is welcome. As I say, if it's a sporting activity, attended or participated. That's always good, but any gathering of friends and family is always highly valued.
And how do you find the balance between living in Birchip and Melbourne and those friends? Do you find like you've got quite a busy social life here and then a busy life in Melbourne as well?
It is a challenge, but it's the fortune of good friends and understanding family. So they appreciate that I'm not around a lot and they accommodate my particular availabilities as best they can. I do try to maintain my different groups of people that I catch up with from time to time. So
priority for you.
Yeah. It also helps that I've got a very patient wife and a very understanding wife. So she recognises this is an important element of my life. Where it works and where it suits her, she also partakes or not.
It's good to get that in. I hope she's listening. Vin, other than necessities, what is one thing you couldn't go a day without?
My iPad. I couldn't survive without my iPad.
You're joking. Yeah? No, you're joking.
No, absolutely serious. It's used for communications. It's used for information. It's used for entertainment. So you come into the office at BCG, into the finance hub, and it's not uncommon that the iPad is driving music.
I've heard the music.
Yeah, so the iPad is my choice.
I wasn't expecting that, Vin.
No, clearly not.
If you could only eat one dish for the rest of your life, what would it be? Are you going to surprise me with this as well?
I doubt it. So, no, my dish is a roast. So it has a variety of different elements, but is almost always consumed with the company of others.
Perfect. And do you cook the roast?
Occasionally. So I hope Karen's not listening to this.
That's a no, is it?
No, so I do get involved from time to time, but I am fortunate to share my life with a very good cook. So
that is fortunate. It's very lucky. Vin, what are 3 movies you'd recommend to the audience and why?
Erin Brockovich.
Oh, I do like Erin Brockovich.
You know, the story of the underestimated by the establishment. Primary Colours is a film based on Bill Clinton Rise.
Ah.
And again is a story of people and politics and the use of power. And the third's not a film, but it's a series that was on the ABC some years ago called Utopia.
Oh, yeah, I like Utopia.
Which there was one particular episode that was very close to a working situation that I was involved with. It was a very funny but a little scary.
Too close to home.
Too close, yeah.
That's funny. So the primary colours you mentioned, politics, and you studied, what did you study at university? Administration,
local government. So in my early years, that was an area that I was interested in, the administration management of local government.
And how did that go for you?
I worked 12 months in the sector and found the office politics way too complicated for a young country boy. So
why you like Utopia so much?
Yeah, maybe. So I ran away from local government.
So what did you do then? How did you come across to ag?
Opportunity. So I took an available job as a stock agent, which was going to be a 12-month fill-in role. So I did that for 4 years. Really enjoyed it. Had many interesting opportunities. Really enjoyed it, but it wasn't the life that I was looking to share if I got married. So.
Oh, was it lots of moving around, do you mean? Lots of travel?
Lots of time intrusions.
Of course, lots of phone calls.
Lots of phone calls.
Yeah. So who did you do that with?
I worked for a company called Denny's Lascelles. So my first job was in Melbourne, and that's then I moved to Mortlake and worked in Mortlake for a couple of years.
Oh, wow.
It was a terrific job at the time, but it wasn't one that I wanted to ask someone else to share with me. So I left that, and then the opportunities ag provides got a job with John Fairfax and doing some media work.
Cool. So as a journalist?
So I did a lot of writing.
Yeah.
Ended up laying out, producing newspapers and magazines.
Okay. So Vin, what's your favourite radio station?
Any sport-related radio is favourite. So
That's lucky because you can normally get a lot around here, can't you?
it's the same with television. So if it's sport-related, I'm a very good chance to be watching it. If it's not, I probably won't.
So any sport?
I love my cricket, but I enjoy the basketball and football and horse racing and golf.
Wow.
I watch golf tournaments all day.
Really?
Yeah.
Your favourite radio? So you're not just looking for music then, but you like listening to music?
I enjoy listening to music, but I don't enjoy the prattle that goes on between the different songs.
So what's some of your favourite music then?
Being of an age that I am, so there's lots of 70s music. Moody Blues is the definite favourite, but there's lots of those artists from that time that all come in. None of them popping into my head at the moment. So
That's all right. So what would you sing at karaoke then?
probably Nights in White Satin, which is a Moody Blues classic.
Can you sing that for me? I don't know that one, Vin.
No, so karaoke is only karaoke. But maybe Leonard Skinner has got a song called Simple Man, which is an absolute beauty as well. So that might be my backup.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to have to listen to those. I'm going to have to add them to the Christmas party list so that we can have the mic ready for you.
That's it. So
He's got a big smile on his face. He's really looking forward to it. Who do you look up to, Vin?
in fact, lots of different people. Again, it's the advantage in working in agriculture and working with so many good people that are not only good at running their farm business, but are also very involved in community and industry activities. And so agriculture is full of those people over the years, and I have great admiration for people that can put so much into running a good business, but also so much into their communities.
So I suppose that shows in how you walk through life as well, Vin.
Yeah, so growing up, we had the good fortune of having parents that led by example. And so, as a family, all of my siblings, we've all been very involved with the various community activities where the opportunity presents. So
have you got a big family?
I'm one of 7. So
Oh, wow, me too.
and again, that's one of the good fortunes in my life is that we had the benefit of a cohesive and cooperative families.
Hearing all the places you've worked, all the experience that you've had, I mean, we know we're so lucky to have you at BCG, but why do you work here?
BCG is a really interesting case, I think. 30 years ago, people wanted locally relevant research, and they set about working to have that presented or delivered to them. So 30 years later, in a town of 700 people in the middle of the Mallee, there's a staff of 20 doing the very work that the founders of BCG hoped would be delivered. So
It's inspiring. Inspires you.
I think it's an amazing story. I mean, BCG continues to operate as an effective organisation, doing the work that the farming community needs done. At the same time, all the public research is busy disappearing from the region. So had the founders of BCG not had the foresight that they did, what kind of research would be available to the grains industry in northwestern Victoria today?
And particularly, I suppose, because, we do have a research committee. We're farmer-driven. We're still talking to farmers about what they want the future to be. So we're still leading that vision 30 years on. Is that sort of...
Absolutely. And leading it and becoming more important in that process than even 10 years ago or certainly 20 years ago when there was so much more public research going on.
Makes you feel good coming to work?
Well, it's certainly very good working with so many like-minded people, good people, energetic people, professionally curious people. But it's also knowing that there's a large group of farmers in the region that value the work that's being done.
It's great. So Vin, listening to all this sport and playing golf and doing all these things, do you have any time to read?
So reading is generally a holiday activity.
What do you read on holidays?
So my favourite author was a fellow called Dick Francis, who used to write thrillers that were based around the British horse racing industry.
Ah.
He's my favourite because I'd lost my love of reading, and he got me back reading quite a few years ago now.
Well, thank you so much, Vin, for your time. It's been a really good chat. I've enjoyed getting to know you a little bit better, and hopefully our listeners have as well. So this has been the BCG podcast. Thanks for listening.